My cousin pretended to be me on social media and got famous. Now she wants me to manage her career. I was 13 when my cousin Aurora first came to live with us. She was only a year younger than me, 12 at the time, and her parents had just gone through a messy divorce that left her mother struggling financially. My father, wanting to help his sister, offered to take Aurora in for the school year so she wouldn't have to bounce between relatives in different cities. It was meant to be a temporary arrangement, but from the moment she stepped through our front door, I sensed that Aurora's presence would alter the course of my life in ways I couldn't yet foresee. I lived in the town of Willowcliff, a middle-class suburb known for tree-lined streets, a decent public school, and a local mall that served as the teenage hangout. Our house was a modest 2-story with pale yellow siding and a small fenced backyard. My mother, Elena, taught elementary art classes, while my father, Gregory, was an insurance adjuster working from a home office in the basement. I had a younger brother, Tony, who was 10, but mostly I was an only child in spirit because Tony immersed himself in video games. Aurora's arrival meant sharing a bedroom for the first time in my life, cramming 2 twin beds into a space that had always been mine. I tried to be generous, telling myself it was temporary, that Aurora needed stability. She was family, after all. At that point, Aurora was shy, reeling from her parents' split. She had curly brown hair that fell to her shoulders, wide blue eyes, and a quiet demeanor. I remember offering her half my closet and seeing her unpack her sparse belongings. A few t-shirts, a couple of jeans, a small stuffed rabbit she said she'd had since childhood. We tried to make conversation. I told her about Willowcliff Middle School's teachers, cliques, the best lunch table to sit at. She nodded, a hint of worry in her expression, promising she'd try to adapt. For the first few weeks, we coexisted politely, each of us adjusting to the other's rhythms. We didn't become best friends overnight, but we were friendly enough, swapping notes about homework, taking turns choosing the TV shows we'd watch on Friday nights, that sort of thing. But a few months in, I noticed Aurora growing more curious about my life, my clothes, my tastes in music, my social media accounts. This was around 2012, so everyone my age was starting to use Instagram, Tumblr, and other platforms to share daily selfies and silly teenage musings. I had a small circle of online friends from school, plus a couple of old summer camp acquaintances I followed. My posts were mostly innocent glimpses into my life, pictures of my cat, a new hairstyle I tried, snapshots of me and my best friend Jade making silly faces. I was never huge on social media, but it felt normal to keep up with the trends. Aurora, on the other hand, was more hesitant about it. She said she didn't have accounts because her mother never let her, but I soon caught her peering over my shoulder when I scrolled through my feed, asking me how it worked. I showed her the basics, how to post a photo, how to set a caption. I never suspected she'd do anything more than create her own account if she decided to join. Instead, I occasionally found her on my phone if I left it lying around, checking my social media pages. She claimed she was just curious. I believed her. We were kids, after all. I didn't see it as a red flag. The school year ended with Aurora returning to her mother for the summer, as planned. We stayed in sporadic contact by texting. She seemed to be doing okay, though she mentioned feeling bored in her mother's new apartment in a different city. When we turned 14 and 13 respectively, we had separate birthdays. Mine was in June, hers in August, exchanging friendly well wishes. Then that fall, her mother decided to relocate again, so Aurora came back to Willowcliff to live with us for 8th grade. I was in 9th grade by then, in Willowcliff High's freshman year, adjusting to the bigger campus. Aurora, still at the middle school, once again occupied half my bedroom. This time, she seemed more confident, less shy. She asked to borrow my clothes sometimes or tried my makeup. I said sure, no problem. If wearing my pink sweater or sampling my mascara made her feel more at home, I was happy to oblige. One day, as I was rummaging through my desk drawers for a notebook, I discovered a piece of paper filled with doodles of my signature. Not exactly my name, but very close like Aurora was practicing copying my handwriting. My initial reaction was confusion. Why would she do that? But I brushed it off as a silly teenage quirk. I didn't confront her about it. This was typical me, avoid conflict, assume the best. If I had known then how deep this rabbit hole would go, maybe I'd have acted differently. Time marched on. We entered 2014. I turned 15. Aurora turned 14. That summer, her mother seemed to be doing better financially, so she didn't move back with us. Instead, Aurora stayed with her mother in another city. I assumed our time as roommates was done. We kept in light contact online, but I was busy with 10th grade, making new friends, focusing on my interest in photography. I started posting more frequently on Instagram photos of sunsets, artistic angles of Willow Cliff's old buildings, the occasional selfie. My follower count was maybe 300, just a small circle of peers. Nothing special. Aurora sometimes liked my photos or left a simple comment. So pretty. Great shot. That was the extent of our interactions. Midway through 10th grade, though, I started noticing weird coincidences. A few friends told me they saw me liking or commenting on random accounts they followed, accounts I didn't even know existed. One friend, Sierra, texted me, "Hey, weird question. Did you create a second Instagram profile? I keep seeing an account with your name and pics that's super active." My stomach tightened in confusion. I only had one account. Sierra sent me screenshots, an Instagram page named imValerieCool, with a profile photo of me, one of my selfies. The bio said something like, Valerie, 15, aspiring model, living my best life. And the grid featured photos I recognized as ones I'd taken but never posted, like ones from my phone's camera roll. Some pictures had filters I never used, others had captions I didn't write. The account had nearly 2,000 followers, far more than my real one. My heart pounded. Who the hell was behind this? I confronted Aurora online via direct message. "Hey, did you see this fake account? People are telling me about it." She replied instantly, "Yeah, that's messed up. Maybe you got hacked?" I said, "No, my official account is fine. This is a separate one with stolen photos." She suggested I report it, so I did, but the account remained active. More pictures kept popping up. Some selfies from last year I never posted, or weird angles of me I didn't even know existed. It freaked me out. I considered changing my phone passcode, suspecting Aurora might be involved, but I didn't want to accuse her without proof. Why would she impersonate me? She lived in another city now, presumably with her own life. But that hunch grew stronger, especially once I found references to her mother's city in the posts. The imposter occasionally geotagged places near where Aurora lived. My suspicion soared. Eventually, that fake account soared past 5,000 followers, an impressive number for a random teenager. People started praising me for my style, my witty captions, my short comedic videos. I learned the imposter had begun posting short clips that used my face like silly comedic sketches or lip syncs. Some clips included me in the background at the grocery store or in my bedroom, apparently recorded by someone else. That meant the imposter had physically been near me, filming me without my knowledge. Who else but Aurora had that proximity? By early 2015, the account soared again, nearing 10,000 followers. This was a big deal back then, like micro-influencer territory. The imposter started doing Q&A sessions, answering fans' questions as if they were me. They also posted short comedic rants about school, which definitely sounded like Aurora's voice. My father, oblivious to social media, never noticed. My mother had passed away years ago, so no help there. I felt violated, powerless. I tried emailing Instagram support with proof that these pictures were stolen from my phone or taken secretly. The responses were slow. The account was still up, gaining traction. Meanwhile, Aurora played dumb whenever I messaged her. "That's so scary," she'd say, or "keep me posted." Something about her denial felt off. Then I got a clue from a mutual acquaintance, Jade. She said, "I saw a short video on that fake account, and you can hear the imposter's voice behind the camera. It sounded like Aurora." Jade had briefly met Aurora during her 8th grade year, recognized her voice. My heart sank. This confirmed what I dreaded. My own cousin was masquerading as me, building a following. But why? Maybe she thought my identity was more glamorous? Or maybe it started as a joke that spiraled. Furious, I tried calling Aurora, but she never picked up. I left voicemails demanding an explanation. No reply. 2 weeks later, the account soared to 20,000 followers. It was insane. People, mostly teenagers, found my comedic rants relatable, praising my style. The actual me watched from the sidelines, horrified. Some fan pages even popped up. I received weird DMs from strangers thinking I was that account, or sending me screenshots of my cool posts. I felt like I was living in a nightmare. Then Aurora finally called me, late one Friday night. Her voice trembled with a mix of excitement and guilt. She confessed everything. She'd started using photos of me about a year ago, noticing how photogenic I was, but also how I rarely posted. She wanted to see if she could craft an online persona using my images, but writing her own comedic captions. It got traction, so she kept going, occasionally sneaking photos when we were together, or hacking my phone's photo gallery. She admitted she'd installed some spy software on my phone during her stay, a horrifying breach of privacy. She never intended it to blow up so big, but once it did, she said, I didn't know how to stop. She sounded apologetic, but also proud of her fame. I was speechless, a whirlwind of anger flooding me. She'd stolen my face, my identity, for internet clout. She claimed she did comedic videos using my face because she was camera shy about showing her own. Your face is so pretty, and I thought the comedic rants sounded funnier if people saw your expressions. My expressions? She was basically forging a brand around me, minus my actual consent. She begged me not to blow it up publicly, claiming she'd lose everything. I can't handle the backlash, she said. I'll come clean eventually, but for now, can we keep it quiet? I told her absolutely not, that I was going to expose her if she didn't shut the account down. She panicked, offering to split revenue from brand deals she'd started receiving. She said some small clothing brands had reached out, wanting me to promote their t-shirts. I felt sick. She was monetizing my identity. I demanded she delete everything immediately, but Aurora resisted. She said, if I delete it now, the brand deals vanish and fans will turn on me. But if you let me keep it going, we can share the profit. I could even start referencing you as my manager or something. We can find a way to collaborate. My jaw dropped. Collaborate? You think I want to be part of your con? She pleaded. We can rebrand it, say it's a comedic persona. You can manage the business side, I'll create content. Rage flared. It's not comedic if you're lying to everyone about who you are. She claimed she never used my real last name, so it wasn't truly identity theft. That was her twisted logic. Furious, I hung up. The next day I told Jade, who suggested we publicly out Aurora, but I hesitated. She was still my cousin, and her mother was struggling. My father might go ballistic if he discovered the betrayal. It was messy. I wanted a solution that ended the account without nuclear fallout. I confronted Aurora again, demanding she at least remove all images of me. She half agreed, but then posted a video explaining to fans that I would be wearing a mask for comedic effect from now on. She started using older photos of me for throwbacks, claiming the new comedic skits would show only my voice. It was insane. The account soared further, nearing 50,000 followers by the end of that year. She started calling me daily, complaining about the workload of constantly making comedic rants, editing them, responding to fan messages. She whined that she needed help managing it, hinting I should step in as her manager. The audacity. She tried to entice me with money, saying brand sponsorships offered a few $100 per post. We could split it 50-50, she suggested. You can keep your identity secret. I just need your help scheduling, planning content, negotiating deals. I was aghast. She wanted me to help run the scam. At first, I said no, but she kept pushing, texting me screenshots of brand offers. She claimed if I refused, she might just keep going alone. The entire fiasco weighed on me. I was finishing high school by then, heading to college soon. Did I want to carry this toxic mess into my adult life? Meanwhile, Dad sensed my stress, but I refused to tell him. He had enough on his plate. He worked long hours at the auto shop. My mother was gone, so I had no maternal figure to confide in. Jade insisted I should forcibly shut Aurora down. But how? Legally, maybe I could sue, but that felt extreme. I felt trapped by familial loyalty. Then Aurora visited Willowcliff for Christmas, staying at her mother's friend's place. She insisted on meeting me at a cafe. Over cappuccinos, she gave me a meltdown story about how she dropped out of community college to focus on her career as a comedic influencer. But it was spiraling out of control. She said fans demanded new content, brand deals, demanded deadlines, and she was only 18. She had no clue how to handle finances or negotiations. I need you, Val, she said, using my real name ironically. You're the only one I trust. Help me manage this. I glared. You trust me, but you stole my face. She looked pained. I know I messed up, but we can fix it. We can turn it into something positive. Let's say you're my cousin/manager. The fans don't need to know all the details. Please, I'm begging you. My anger warred with pity. She seemed desperate. She insisted she'd eventually reveal the truth that the comedic persona is partly fictional. But for now, she wanted me to manage deals, respond to brand emails, and plan a rebrand. She promised to remove any direct references to me personally, as if that made it less horrifying. Against my better judgment, I felt a twinge of concern for her. She was clearly in over her head. The money might help her mother or something. I told her I'd think about it. Over the next few days, Jade hammered me not to do it, but my father, ignorant of the details, said I should help family if they're in crisis. Aurora texted me incessantly, offering 60% of profits if I'd help. Eventually, I caved, telling her I'd do it on 2 conditions. She must remove all images of my face from the account and never claim to be me again. She agreed, saying the persona was now a comedic character named Valen, so fans would see it as a fictional spin. I reasoned maybe this was a way to salvage the situation. If she rebranded away from Valerie, or whatever name reminiscent of me, maybe I could ensure my identity was no longer used. And if I managed her, I could monitor her content, preventing further stolen material. Not the noblest approach, but I was young, naive, trying to find a middle ground. So I reluctantly became the behind-the-scenes manager of Aurora's Valen comedy persona. She gave me login credentials, and I started handling brand emails. Sure enough, brands offered small payments or free products for her to promote. We created a hush-hush contract between us, though neither of us was super savvy with legal documents. She posted comedic rants, but always wearing a hat, sunglasses, or using an animated filter, so my face wasn't displayed. She tried new storylines that didn't rely on my old pictures. We told fans that Valen is stepping up her game, embracing a bit of anonymity. Remarkably, the audience accepted it, though some lamented losing Val's gorgeous face. Meanwhile, I structured some deals so Aurora would do comedic skits about certain clothing lines or snack brands. The money was modest, maybe $200 here, $300 there. We split it. I used mine to pay some college application fees and textbooks. She used hers to pay rent. It was surreal. I was basically enabling her continued deception, but at least it was no longer using my face. As months passed, the Valen comedy persona grew further, hitting 100,000 followers, then 200,000. She branched to YouTube, making short comedic sketches. I advised her on scheduling and public relations. Fans wrote fan art, made meme edits. Brands offered bigger sponsorships. Aurora sometimes texted me late at night, thanking me for believing in her, claiming she was sorry for the original identity theft. I still harbored resentment. But the money was helping me afford an out-of-state university soon, so I felt torn complicit but also benefiting. My father noticed I had more spending money, asked where it came from. I lied, saying part-time freelancing. Jade shook her head disapprovingly whenever I told her about new brand deals. I told Jade maybe we'd do a big reveal eventually, clarifying that Valen wasn't actually me. Jade warned me that fans might feel betrayed. She was right, but I was stuck. Then, Aurora's success became unstoppable, garnering 500,000 followers. She started collaborating with minor celebrities for comedic cameo skits. Her mother bragged about her famous influencer daughter, clueless that it began with stolen identity. My father still in the dark. Meanwhile, Aurora confided in me that she was lonely in her new city, under pressure to produce content daily. She dreaded a meltdown if fans discovered the initial catfishing. I told her the only real fix was honesty, but she insisted it would ruin everything. One day, out of nowhere, Aurora texted me, "I can't do this alone anymore. I want to move to Willowcliff so we can collaborate in person. Let's do bigger videos, maybe get local talent. Please say yes." I hesitated. Collaborate in person? That risked me being recognized as the original face. But she argued she'd keep me off camera, focusing on me as the manager or cameo roles with no face reveal. My father, upon hearing she wanted to move to Willowcliff, was thrilled to have extended family around. He offered she could stay with us for a bit. I cringed, imagining living under the same roof again. But it might allow me more oversight. Maybe I could steer her toward a dignified reveal, or at least ensure she never revived the stolen identity. Reluctantly, I said yes. So Aurora arrived with her suitcases, a new ring light, and boxes of influencer gear. She set up in our spare bedroom. The first few nights were awkward. My father was overjoyed to see her again, clueless about the full truth. She played nice, cooking dinners with me, joking about old times, but tension lingered. She'd constantly check her phone for follower counts or brand emails. I'd remind her about deadlines. We'd argue about creative direction sometimes. She'd want to do a comedic rant mocking strict teachers, ironically reminiscent of Miss Brady's Durant from my high school days, but I'd find it distasteful. She'd push back. Still, we managed to keep producing content, and her follower count kept climbing. Then, the big turning point arrived. A major streaming platform approached Aurora about a cameo in a youth-oriented comedy series. This was real mainstream opportunity. They asked if she'd be willing to do a short cameo as her comedic persona, Valen. She'd get a few lines, do a comedic bit. The pay was decent, the exposure huge. Aurora was ecstatic. But the producers needed official ID, contracts with her legal name, verification to ensure she was at least 18. She approached me, frantic. If I give them my real name, they might realize that Valen was originally built on someone else's face. They'll do background checks. This could blow up. I pointed out we'd removed my face months ago, but she worried old posts or images might surface. The producers might investigate her brand, see the initial content. "What do we do?" she asked, eyes wide with panic. In that moment, I realized we couldn't keep the facade forever. If Aurora wanted real mainstream success, eventually everything would be scrutinized. The easiest route would be to do a controlled reveal, admit she once used a fictional name and images, then pivot to a transparent brand under her real name. But that might cost her fans. Aurora was terrified. The cameo opportunity hinged on authenticity. The producer specifically asked for her comedic persona to appear, so changing the persona drastically might spook them. Meanwhile, I was sick of living this lie. It was draining me. I told Aurora we either come clean or pass on the cameo. She pleaded for a middle ground, maybe sign the contract using her real name but maintain the persona publicly. I said that was risky. She refused to let go of the cameo, so she insisted we fudge the paperwork slightly, claiming Valen was her stage name. I warned it could backfire. She insisted we do it anyway. Against my better judgment, we did. She shot the cameo. The producers loved her comedic flair. When the episode aired, her fame skyrocketed. She soared to 800,000 followers, receiving thousands of new fans. My father was proud, praising Valen's comedic genius, oblivious to the identity theft origins. Aurora floated on cloud nine, but I felt increasingly uneasy. The bigger the spotlight, the bigger the risk of exposure. And I hated the ongoing deception. Sure enough, cracks appeared. Old acquaintances from Aurora's old city recognized her voice, began posting rumors that Valen used to be someone else. Some fan accounts found archived posts showing my face. They asked, "Who's this other girl in old posts? The face doesn't match Aurora's real face." The rumor mill churned. Aurora panicked, calling me in tears. "People are asking if I had cosmetic surgery or if I hired a body double. This is insane." I told her maybe it was time to come clean. She freaked out, imagining a massive backlash that could destroy her brand. But we had no choice. The next day, multiple drama channels on YouTube started speculating about Valen's real identity, pulling up old screenshots. The story was going viral. We had maybe 24 hours before major media outlets latched on. Aurora finally agreed to do a confessional live stream with me by her side. She wanted me off camera, but I insisted I appear. Enough secrets. We set up in our living room. Dad, confused but supportive, watched from the kitchen. Aurora started the stream, tears in her eyes, greeting her thousands of viewers. She explained that Valen was a comedic persona, but that initially she used images of her cousin, me without permission. She apologized profusely, saying she never intended to lie, that it spiraled out of control. She introduced me as Valerie, the real face behind the older posts, clarifying that I was never an active participant in the old content. My heart pounded as I spoke into the camera, telling viewers how I discovered the account, how we tried to transition away from using my likeness. Aurora took full responsibility, saying she was insecure, overshadowed, and used me as a stepping stone. She wept. I got emotional. It was raw. My father, out of frame, stared with watery eyes. The chat exploded with shock, betrayal, some supportive messages, some hateful ones. It was a roller coaster. Afterwards, we braced for impact. Many fans felt betrayed, unsubscribing or leaving angry comments. Some found Aurora's confession brave, urging forgiveness. Brand deals paused, wanting to see how the public responded. Drama channels dissected the stream, labeling Aurora a manipulator, me a victim. My father was stunned, furious at first that Aurora had used me so callously. But he saw how regretful she was. He also saw I was complicit in managing her for months, which hurt him. He felt left out of the loop. We had a big family discussion, tears all around. Aurora apologized to Dad for lying about her initial success. Dad felt betrayed, but recognized she was young and desperate. I apologized to Dad for enabling the ruse as her manager. He forgave me, saying he wished I'd told him sooner. In the aftermath, Aurora lost about half her followers, but a significant portion stayed, curious about her real comedic talent. Some praised her for coming clean. She rebranded again, this time as Aurora Comedy, openly acknowledging her real name. She cut all ties with the Valen persona. Meanwhile, I publicly stated that I forgave Aurora's impersonation, though it deeply hurt me. The fiasco eventually cooled off. Aurora's new channel stabilized at maybe 300,000 fans, still large, but less than the inflated Valen era. She tried to move forward with honest content. I no longer served as her manager. She found an actual agent who specialized in comedic influencers. Our relationship stabilized into cautious familial love. She wrote me a heartfelt letter admitting her envy of me triggered the entire fiasco, that she admired my confidence or my looks, ironically, the same confidence she'd eroded with her impersonation. We decided to try to heal. It took months for me to truly trust Aurora again, but at least she'd stopped using my face. My father, relieved we resolved things, took us on a small family vacation, just a weekend trip to the lakeside, to mend our bonds. Aurora and I ended up rowing a small boat together, ironically reminiscent of when we were kids sharing a bedroom. We joked about how messed up the situation was, but also how we could find a weird sense of humor in it. She asked if I might ever appear in her content as an actual cameo, playing myself for real. I laughed, saying maybe someday if it was transparent and comedic in a healthy way. She respected that I needed time. By the time I transferred to university, we had a stable, if cautious, relationship. My father, who once joked about me and Aurora being the same person, realized how close that came to being literally true on social media. He was grateful the scandal died down. Occasionally, I'd see a "Where's Valen" comment on Aurora's posts, referencing the old persona. She'd politely respond that it was a fictional character retired. Life moved on. Aurora's comedic career found an honest footing. No more identity theft, no more illusions. She began hosting small live comedy shows in local clubs. I visited one, watching from the back. She spotted me after, hugging me, tears of gratitude in her eyes. She said, "Thank you for giving me a second chance." I nodded, still feeling a twinge of bitterness, but also relief that we'd come this far. Years later, I look back on it all with a mixture of exasperation and empathy. My cousin pretended to be me on social media, got famous, and then ironically asked me to manage her career, roping me into the deception. The entire fiasco was a lesson in boundaries, identity, and the complexities of family. Aurora's motivation came from envy and a desire for validation. My father's desire for family harmony blinded him to the early signs of trouble. I, naive and conflict-averse, got sucked into managing a persona that was partially built on my stolen images. Ultimately, we resolved it by confronting the lie publicly, enduring backlash, and slowly rebuilding trust. Aurora's still out there crafting comedic sketches under her real name, forging a new legacy. I'm finishing a degree in biology, pondering a future in research. We remain cousins, speaking occasionally, maybe not best friends, but not enemies either. We found a fragile peace in the aftermath of a storm that tested our loyalty, morality, and capacity to forgive. Looking ahead, I see a deeper moral. Illusions might bring temporary fame, but the truth eventually demands a reckoning. Aurora learned that the hard way, and so did I. Now, no matter how complicated family can be, we face each other with honesty, an honesty we lacked for too long. Sometimes we joke privately about the old fiasco, marveling at how it ever happened. But I also note that every comedic video Aurora posts now has disclaimers or behind-the-scenes glimpses, ensuring fans know she's real, not a catfishing facade. The old scars remain, but they remind us of the cost of deception. And that, in the end, is how we found closure in a bizarre chapter where my cousin became me online, soared to fame, then needed me to navigate the very stardom she built on my stolen identity. We survived, we learned, and we moved on, grateful that, at least, we came out stronger on the other side.